Hey, is that you? Are you here? Hey, look, Felix, it's them. It's them. They're out there. People are back for our Ontario Extend domain camp. Well, we like to think that people are out there, Felix. How's your blog doing, buddy? How is your WordPress blog? This is week 6, and we are back with a full week of stuff. For those who've been following along or maybe want to follow along later, this stuff should live forever. I'm your camp counselor, Alan Levine. I'm coming to you from the official kitchen at Ontario Extend Domain Camp, and this is where stuff is cooking, and we're cooking this week. Going into, let's see, this is our 5 and 6. We started just looking at a few more things in WordPress because, well, WordPress is great. We all know it. But there's a lot of things, and you see that, you log into that dashboard and there's all kinds of stuff over there and there's stuff over here. And we wanted to take the rest of the summertime here at camp to go in a little bit and just try to pry out some of the mysteries and expose you to some things that we find are important to doing WordPress. So we're going to go right into it this week, but just as a reminder, today's Tuesday. We launch stuff. Tomorrow at, when is it tomorrow? I think it's 3 p.m. Eastern. Do the math for other time zones. I'll have open office hours, so if you want to drop in the post for this week, there'll be a link to our Zoom session. Anybody can do it, not just people in Ontario Extend, not just people in Canada. We hope to see you, Norm. And so drop in because it gets kind of lonely here. Sad face. No, just serious. It's a lot of fun. And then Thursday, we have kind of the Ontario Extend. We've been doing it the summer, our extended lunch hours. So 12:30 p.m., pull up your PB&J and again, join us in the Zoom session. Otherwise, the thing to do is, and we really wish to see more people do this, is use the community.reclaimhosting.com as a place to ask questions. And so if you go in there, you'll see that I think Laura Killam posted a question about Moodle, and most of the responses came from other people who aren't even part of this project. So if you ask questions, there are people who love answering questions. And so it's a great thing as a facilitator when other people can jump in and answer questions before you even realize that they're there. Like, here's this guy. Anyhow, right now, so I'm going to launch into some screen sharing and just go over quickly some of the stuff we're hanging out there for you to do this week. The paint is still wet on a few of them, so just bear with us. We have a couple little staffing challenges here. So right now, let's see, I'm going to go into the old screen sharing session. So we'll go right now, just as an overview for what's going on this week. So we are cooking over the WordPress campfire, keeping the metaphor going right here. So this we'll give you everything that's going on this week. So even if you are doing this at a later time, all this stuff will be there. We've got 3 things that we're going to build out as activities in the activity bank. And again, drop in headquarters. You'll find the link there to get into our Zoom session. No login, no fees, nobody at the border. And again, the Newbies Corner, let me give a big shout out again because, we announce stuff here every week, but we can see this is what you should be doing when you get stuck on things. Don't rely on Twitter. Go into the community, ask questions, try to answer someone else's questions, hang out, share your blog, boast about what you're doing. So with that, we're going to go into some of the activities for this week. And again, these live in the Ontario Extend Activity Bank, where we've been doing all the other Extend activities. We have a whole section there for a domain camp. And so we've hit the 20 mark of different things that you can do within there. So each one of these provides you instructions, examples, and then a place for you to post an example of the work you did for this one. So we're going to go in right now and make sure that first of all, that you know how to get to, I should say, maybe I skip it a couple steps, but you have to get to in Reclaim Hosting. You have to go through your portal. If you're with some other weird hosting company, whatever you have to do to log in, we're going to come in with our account. Reclaim Hosting, you get this. But mainly everything happens from good old cPanel. Hopefully cPanel is quite familiar to all of you. So for your WordPress sites, they're all going to be hanging out over here in My Apps. And then from there, I'm working off of this Mad Scientist because I'm mad and I'm a scientist. And I go into my WordPress site this way. To get to this familiar place of the dashboard, and so this is where you do everything, of course, in your WordPress. You might start seeing, and maybe we'll drop mention of this or do some discussion. There is kind of a change coming in a future version of WordPress, and you'll see the stuff about Gutenberg, and there are going to be some future changes with the way you edit things. It's not going to wreck any of your sites, so don't get all panicked about this yet. We're still trying to sort this out, but you'll see mention of this Gutenberg, and it's supposed to be this real gee whiz way to edit things that's maybe a little bit less arcane than the old school way we've been doing now, but we're sticking with old school right now. But we're here to talk about permalinks, which are kind of this, they seem probably like a minor topic, but it really affects on your blog the links for everything that you see. So, right now, this is my blog. Of course, this is the main entrance. But when it comes down to all the links that you go to, in this case, this URL, hopefully you can see it for a post here, is sort of this part that comes after it. There's a lot of flexibility for how you design the way the URLs to your WordPress site are formulated. And the funny thing is that the way WordPress really knows what to do with it is a lot uglier. They look like index.php. Let me see if I can get this right. And it's going to be p = 5. That is the actual URL for this post. So WordPress is a PHP application. All the things that come after a question mark or different parameters that get sent to it. So this is the real link, and you can see it actually ends up over here. WordPress has a way of sort of reformulating the URLs so they look less like mumbo jumbo and a little bit more readable in terms of when you share that URL. So we think it's important that you know how to deal with that. And this all happens in the dashboard, and under settings is this thing called permalinks. And so right now, if I wanted to, I've already gone in and sort of changed it to sort of a different version, but the typical way that it comes by default is for blog post, and it does a combination of creating the URL based on the category of the post and the title of the post. So if I come back here now, I've actually just changed it. And we'll see that the URL here is like camp news, which is my category. And then it forms a URL from basically the words in my title. Now, this is kind of nice. It does it all for you. And when I edit my post, I can see that, look at this. It's converted everything in my title. It makes it lowercase. It gets rid of the exclamation points and the parentheses, and then it converts all the spaces to dashes, and it makes it into a URL. Now, the thing about this is fine, and you can live with this, but long URLs are big and heavy, and they take up space. So if you go with one of these permalink structures, what you can do is in your editor, you say like, I don't really want this long sort of drawn out title. I want something more short. So I'm just going to edit this part of my URL, and I'm going to update it. And now I have kind of like a little bit of a neater, more compact URL. So that's one way that you can deal with this. When we go back to our permalink settings, there's some different options. Old school, and the way a lot of people do it, is sort of this concept of including within the URL not only the title of the post, but also when it was published. So if I'm just going to change this right now, and now when I go and view my post, the URL for this now has, after my domain, it's got 2018-07-12. Now this is pretty handy. Once you have a lot of blog posts lined up, it can give you and the people who find your blog posts a sense of when stuff was written. Like, oh, that's stuff they wrote about back in 2018. That's like 15 years old. So if you want to, you can sort of give an indication of the vintage of your blog post by using one of these permalink settings that has sort of a date timestamp. So the day and name is sort of like the year, month, date. You can do a month and name one, or you could just get around and just do some crazy customizing. So you can actually make your own structure for the way your permalinks are formed. So we can do this by, and this is kind of nifty that they've added this. I might just want to have the year. So maybe I don't need the month and date. I just want to get a sense of how old my blog post is. And then you can even include things like, let's just do what. And then if you don't want to bother with shortening the post name every time, you can have URLs that are based upon this thing called the post ID. Now, what the heck is that? Everything you do in WordPress has sort of like a unique number that identifies it in the database. On my original post I showed you, it was 5. So this is going to create a different kind of URL structure. And so I'm going to save this. And let's see, I'm going to go and I'm going to edit this, and maybe it'll show this. So now, instead of having a blog post title based upon my title, I have my domain. I can see this was produced in 2018. I've got this thing called what, and it's post number 5. So if you don't really care about having the words of your title in your blog post, and you really don't want to shorten them all the time by manual editing them, you can do that. And so that makes sort of a simple URL structure. So permalink things are kind of a funky little thing that most people don't pay attention to. I would generally suggest doing this in the beginning and not really muck around too much later, in case you do have sort of posts in your blog and you've got links that go directly to them. You don't really want to muck around with them too much, but permalinks are worth knowing. It also comes into play when you start editing your categories. So I had this category I called burnt things, and I can already see that I have a typo here. But this thing called a slug in WordPress is sort of the same thing. It's sort of like it converts. If my title, my category was burnt things I made at camp, because I like big flowery category names, that's fine. But in the URL, I don't want this. So I just might shorten this to be burnt. And what this means is anywhere that it uses this as a link, and if I went to view, this will come up as not found because I don't have anything. But now the URL for my category is just camp.extendlabs.ca/category/burnt. So you'll see this idea of permalinks come into other parts and categories and tags within your WordPress site. If you understand permalinks, then you sort of know what this is all about. So most people would think like, wow, that's a pretty arcane thing, domain camp, but we think it's worth knowing about. Gives you a little bit more understanding about how WordPress works under the hood. It's always good to pop the hood on your WordPress site. So that's permalinks. Not too much to fiddle with, but sort of like worth going through and setting up before you start having thousands and thousands of blog posts on your category. The other thing that's pretty critical on this is building sort of ways for people to get around your blog. Now, this blog only has one post, so I can sort of see everything on it within this first view. But what happens when I have like all these blog posts? I have them organized in the categories. Maybe I have a page set up for my camp calendar. Maybe I put up a treasure map as a WordPress page, which is sort of like a post, but it doesn't have a time date stamp on it. And what if I create a whole bunch of other things that I want to sort of make it easy for people to find on my blogs? Well, in that case, we want to create menus. So we can get there from the WordPress admin bar anywhere on our site by going to menus, or we go into our dashboard. We go under appearance, and then we go over to menus. Now, the menu options will differ slightly depending what theme you are using, but the method for setting them up is all the same. And as a reminder, again, I'm talking fast here and going over stuff pretty quickly. Everywhere you are in WordPress, and I always forget about this, you click Help up here in the right-hand corner. Look, it tells you all about menus, gives you some information, how to do menu management, editing menu plays, and then it's got links to more. So WordPress has a great sort of contextual help system built in. If you really don't like my explanations, go with WordPress's explanations. So we don't have any menus on our site. So the first thing that we're going to do is we have to sort of give our menu a name. Now, the name never appears on your site. It's just so when you're on this side of it, you know what menu you're talking about, because some themes allow you to have multiple menus. So I could call this name, I could give this menu a name called Sam, but I don't think that's appropriate. Or Steve. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to call it Nav because it's navigation. And so I create a menu. Boom, I have a menu. If I go to my site, though, I'm not going to see anything. And if you want to believe me, go to my site. Well, I don't have a menu. Well, I haven't done anything yet. So I got to go back to my menus. The first thing is I haven't added anything to my menu. And so there are different sort of collections of things that you can add. So we're going to start with pages. So I've sort of set up some WordPress pages. If you don't know what a page is, typically you blog by doing a post, but there's also this thing called a WordPress page. Kind of confuses people. It looks like a post, but it's sort of like WordPress posts are always organized. You always see the newest first. Pages have no sort of frame like that. They're kind of standalone content. So you think of a page as sort of like a static piece of content that needs to exist outside of a WordPress post. But it looks just like a post, and you edit it the same way. So I've already created a couple pages that I want to add as menus to my site. So I have About Camp. I have like how to find camp, because how to get to camp. And I have Meet Your Counselors. So I'm just going to click and add these to my menu. So this is where you have your menu structure. The neat thing about this is we can just click and drag to sort of reorganize them. And I can do this sort of thing, so I can change the order pretty quickly. These will appear as menu labels. And some of these things are falling down in camp. Some of these are kind of long. Menu labels you really want short. So this is the neat thing about menus. You can open this up. I go to page, and I just want this to read About as the label on the menu. It doesn't change anything. Find camp, I may want to do where. And then Meet Your Counselors, I may just want to have that as counselors. So I just basically have changed the way the menus appear on the front of my site. So I'm going to save my menu, and now I'm going to go to my site, and where the heck's my menu? Where's my menu? I forgot something. It's always subtle. Way at the bottom here, menu settings. You have to tell WordPress where you want this menu to appear. Now, different themes may have different places you can put the menu. This one, the 2017 default theme for now, has 2 different menus. Generally, there's at least one, but you always have to tell WordPress where to put the thing. Top menu is the main menu. The name may differ in a different theme. We'll come back to social links. We're going to save that menu. And now when we go back and view our menu, look at this. We've got links now to these different pages. So we've added a navigation menu to our site. Well, that's pretty cool, but what else can we do? Well, we're going to be blogging like crazy, and we've already set up a couple things. So categories, this will generally list the most common ones. I've not blogged much, but I can see all my categories. So I want to add maybe this one, and this one to my menu. So now I've got blog categories. But these are now all blurred, kind of mixed in with the other sort of menu items that I made. And so it's going to be long, and it's going to be way too many things on my menu. So this is a place where we can do a thing to create sort of like drop down or fly out menus, and we can sort of consolidate our menu structure. And just to show you, because right now I've just free-willied add these things to my site. These things go all the way across. You already see I'm running out of room. And so that's kind of an ugly menu. It's not very well organized. So I'm going to show you a little trick here that's useful for organizing them. And we'll come back to custom links later. Well, we'll just add a custom link. This is another way to add something to your menu that can be anything that exists on the web. There's a lot of stuff on the web. You could add the entire web to your menus, but that'll take forever. But let's just say I want to add just a link to Extend Labs. So I put the URL in, and I decide what the label is for this. I'm going to add that to my menu. And so I should have done an S, but I can just drag this. Maybe I want this on the top, which is kind of neat. So you can mix things together that are actually different kinds of menu items. That's the beauty about the menu interface. You have no idea how hard this was to do 10 years ago. It was crazy, but let's not get nostalgic. Now here's the trick. Sometimes you need sort of a way to have a container to put some submenus into, but you really don't want it to go anywhere. So this is the secret trick that you get only here in Domain Camp. Instead of having an URL, you just put a pound sign. And what that's going to create is, I'll just call this news. And so this is going to create a link when you click it that goes nowhere. Pound is sort of like a thing that says just stay on the same page. So we're going to create this menu item. And right now you're probably saying this doesn't make any sense. Called news. And I'm going to drag it above all these categories like that. And so I want to put all my categories under there. So this is what's pretty cool. You just drag this to the right, drag it to the right a little bit, and we're going to indent them. And so these are now all sub-menu items under news. Save this puppy again. Watch this. This is crazy. You're going to love this. Look what I did. I consolidated my menu. Under news, I've got these links to these subcategories that will show a link to all the posts I wrote about burnt things I made at camp. And so you can go kind of crazy with this navigation structure. So I can put Extend Lab under About. I can even put counselors under About. I can do something else where maybe I put this one like a sub menu. Let's see what happens there. Who knows what will happen there. So now I'm going to reload this. Now I've got About, I've got Extend Lab, and Counselor. So you can create these kind of complex navigation structure. I'm going to not do that for now. I'll leave that under About. I'll put Extend Lab under there. Maybe Where would go under About. It's your call on how to design these, but generally you want the menu, the top level menu. You don't want too many. You want them simple so it's clear, and then use the sub menus to put more complexity under your site. So what about this other menu? So we're gonna create another menu. So this theme has a thing called, and I know it because I've seen it before, it's a way to add your social media links. So I'm going to call this Socially Yours. Doesn't matter what you call it. I'm going to create a new menu. And this one, I want to tell it to add to the social links menu. Now this, you see this in a fair number of themes, not all of them. This is a place to add twitter.com, and I'm going to add a link, Mad Sci. I'm going to add a link, and I'll just put Twitter here so I know what it is. I'm going to add this. Maybe I'm going to put my Facebook page, and it's going to be Yucky Poo because we love Facebook. We'll put Facebook there. So any of the major, let's say I've got flickr.com/MadSci. So I'm just putting in all my social media sites. I'm going to add this. Then maybe one more, I'll do Instagram because that's where everybody hangs out, MadSci, and I'll just say Instagram. So basically, I'm adding links to all my social media ones. I'll put Facebook last because it's unimportant. Twitter and Flickr are better. So basically, you do all the things for this social menu. I'm going to save it. And now we've got to sort of go and find out where that went. All this depends on how the theme is designed. Not every theme has this option, but I know this one does. So I still see all my regular menus that are made up. On this theme, it adds it to the bottom. And look, instead of being like a text menu, it's already stylized. There's a Twitter icon, there's an Instagram icon. So these all link to my social media ones. So if there is a social media menu item on your site, this is where you can add it. So menus are really important, and you may go back every now and then to recraft your menu. You may decide to put in different menus to links to your course materials or to your Blackboard site or to your other, maybe you do to your other sites that you've created within your domain or outside your domain. There's really no limit to what you can do with your menu structure. Just try to make it simple and obvious to people what these links are about. But how you do it, it's up to you. Last thing, plugins. And this gets kind of complex. So one of the main reasons we do our own domain is this thing called plugins. So WordPress has a lot you can do to it. You can create posts, menus, and you can blog, and you do pages, and you can put your pictures there. But there's a lot of extra functionality that you can add to it that is not the things that everybody wants in their blog. And so this idea of plugins. So it's extra functionality that you can do. You can't do this in WordPress.com. They give you a couple plugins, but they pick them out. You have access. Let's see if I can find this. WordPress.org plugins. Let's just search for it. These are all the ones that come available that you can install directly from your own self-hosted WordPress. So there are 56,141 plugins. That's a lot of plugins. How am I going to figure them all out? Well, don't randomly search for plugins. But let's go back to our dashboard. It's more important to know how they work. So we go to plugins, and what we're going to see, if you're with Reclaim Hosting, they actually give you a couple ones that come sort of pre-installed. So there's one at the bottom. You can see it's kind of blue background, and instead of activate, it says deactivate. So there's two steps in plugins. You have to install them. Somebody already did this, Reclaim Hosting, and you have to activate them. And these two are not activated. But this one is already activated because Reclaim Hosting says this plugin, limit login attempts, is worth having on every WordPress site. And so we agree. Just leave this one in. And what this does is it stops people from trying to brute force, trying to guess the password to log into your WordPress site. So it's kind of a security thing. So keep that one on. The other plugins that come with it are not active yet. So, but they're sitting there ready for you. Now, Hello Dolly, it doesn't do everything. But if you want, you can activate this. This is something that's been in WordPress ever since it began. The guy who began it, Matt Mullenweg, sort of likes jazz. And you can see at the top what this has done is like, this is add sort of like a Hello Dolly lyric to every top of my admin screen. Now, of course, this has no purpose, but if we reload, we'll get a different one. Really, it's just to give you a sense about this is what WordPress can do for you with plugins. So if you like Hello Dolly lyrics in your admin screen, you can leave it. I say deactivate it. You really don't want extra plugins activated on your blog. They take up memory and they slow things down. So only you want the exclusive ones. The other one really important is Akismet, or I always mispronounce it, Akismet or whatever. It helps to block spam. So as a new blog, maybe you don't have spam yet, but eventually it's going to come to your blog and you're going to get comments in your blog from crazy people trying to sell you crap or get their blogs in there. Akismet is the real good protection, and we recommend activating Akismet on your blog as well. Now, the thing about Akismet, you're going to activate this. Now you have to set up an account. So now this is going to take you to somewhere else now. You have to get an API key. You have to get an API key. You're going to come to Akismet. You're going to have to activate this. So there's a bunch of steps here. You have to log in to WordPress.com to create Akismet. So there's a series of steps. The most important thing with Akismet, and they kind of hide it, they try to sell you like a fee-based service. There's a free option. So always go for the free-based option. But we highly recommend keeping Akismet active on your blog. Right now, it's not ready, but as an example, this is sort of many plugins have a link to a settings page, so there's ways to configure your plugins from here. So those are the ones it comes with. Let's say I want to add a new one. So I'm going to go over to plugins. I'm going to do add new. So here we are in the plugins page. They offer these there's more of these featured ones. These are the ones that WordPress, they're the ones they make themselves. So Akismet is already installed. Jetpack, what the heck is Jetpack? Well, Jetpack is kind of like a whole batch of plugins, and it installs functionality that comes from WordPress.com, and you can add it to your own site. Generally, it's worth it. It's got like some stats collection, and enables you to automatically authenticate Akismet without creating an account, and does some other nifty things. So if I want Jetpack, I can install this now, and it's going to add it to my blog, but I'm going to skip it for now. But maybe I want bbPress. That's kind of interesting. If you want a discussion forum within your WordPress site, you can do that with bbPress. It's kind of a useful thing. I'm going to skip it for now because it's, it doesn't involve some setup. But if you decide that you want a discussion forum within your WordPress site, bbPress might be a way to go. But there's other ways to find plugins. So you go to popular. What are popular? Well, there's some things here that might be useful. If you want a contact form, you can do that. Search engine optimization, I can't even say it. I don't really care about that. These are, again, some different things. And so looking at this, I don't know. It's hard to know whether you really need any of this just by, drafting this. But these are ones that a lot of people use. And you can see that. There's star ratings. So 5 stars rated by 2,200, well, big number. 1.5 million active installations. That's kind of a good sort of thing to look for in terms of sort of how many people have used it. If you get like a WordPress plugin that hasn't really seen much, Smush is a good one. I like Smush. Let's try this one. So I'm going to install Smush now. It's worth having on your blog, especially if you're going to upload a bunch of Medium. So I've installed it. Now the button changed to activate. So let's activate Smush. And so bingo. So this is one that has a bunch of settings. And so you can go through this or you can change this later. It comes with the default settings. So What Smush is basically when you upload pictures, often you upload pictures that are kind of like they're giant, they're like 5 MB. Smush is a way to sort of shrink the file size of images you uploaded without really destroying them. And so the way it works is you can, right now it's going to offer to bulk smush the images that I've already uploaded in my library. But let's say I'm doing a post. And I'm going to say like, see, and they're trying to sell me stuff. That's what a lot of plugins do. Get used to dismissing things. Big picture. So shall I smush? So let's just say I'm doing a regular post. It's going to be under burnt things I made at camp. And I'm going to upload a featured image to my site. So I'm going to go, and you can't see now, but I'm fishing for some pictures, and I know I've got my friend just sent me kind of a here's a nice big picture, and this one is, oh, it's huge. It's 5 MB. You don't want anybody to have to like wait for a 5 MB image to sort of appear on your blog. Smush is a way of helping you optimize the images that are uploaded. So once this thing is done uploading, and I probably shouldn't have picked a giant one, but Smush will basically help your website run a little bit faster by making all the images an optimum file size. And you know, you may know that just the way images work, you know, once you get off of your camera, you know, they're huge and they're full of detail and they're high resolution. You don't necessarily need that on your website. The WordPress media, we haven't really talked about this as much. WordPress is really good. So you should always upload a fairly big size image when you use it on your WordPress site. I would say at least 1,000 pixels, if not 2,000 pixels, because WordPress and the themes that you choose is going to take that image and it's going to create multiple copies in the different sizes that it needs. So it might do, it might make a large size and medium size and a little thumbnail. So it's always better to upload a bigger size image, let WordPress handle creating the multiple sizes that it needs. And then if you have Smush, it'll make sure that they don't take up a lot of file space. So maybe I shouldn't have picked that 5 MB picture, but you know, someone just sent it to me. So you can see now on the right that this is a 5 MB image. And on the bottom, we can see smushing in progress. So right now, this plugin is behind the scenes. It's taking that image and it's doing a bunch of magic, whatever smushing is, and it's going to smush this picture. Hopefully, so when I use it in my blog, I don't like stick someone with having to wait for a 5 MB picture to download. So in general, we want your web pages to load as quick and snappy as possible so people can be mesmerized by the things that you write. So I'm just waiting for this smush to happen on this image. Again, for a demo, I probably shouldn't have picked a 5 MB image. Generally, it doesn't take this long. But this is what happens when you do a demo on the fly. So again, this is something like an extra functionality that you can add to your WordPress site that doesn't necessarily, you know, come with the built-in WordPress, because maybe everybody's not interested in smushing or people don't know about that. There's all kinds of plugins that do everything imaginable and then some. So I'm going to come back while that's still smushing. Let's come back to our plugins and just go back to the install new and just kind of see what's available. There's favorites. Oh, I haven't marked any as favorites. So recommended plugins. These are kind of the similar things, but what if I really don't know? What if I want to add like a photo gallery? So I'm going to say photo gallery. I'm going to search for plugins. And here's where it gets kind of fun. They're generally listed in the order of popular and highly rated. So, you know, you could go, it's kind of like Googling and like, you know, go with the lucky one and take this first one. But how do you know whether Photo Gallery by 10 Web is as good as Gallery by Robo or WordPress Gallery or Photo Gallery or Responsive Gallery or Photo. It's almost, you know, mind dizzying. So it's a little bit challenging to sort of just go from this interface. So for the most part with plugins, you could go and experiment and try them out and see how they work. You could sort of ask people, hey, what plugins do you use on your site? And people could share that in the community. You could just wait until sort of like you see mention of a particular plugin, but it can be hard to choose. This is even harder than picking out which of those apps in Installatron that you want to add to your site. But let's just say I'm going to go with this one. So I can install this plugin. And now I'm going to be able to do some kind of photo gallery thing on my site. I'm going to activate it, and boom. So I've created this gallery. It tells me what I can do. I can get information about it by clicking View Details. Let's see if this is finished smushing. No, we're still smushing. That smushing is going to take forever. But believe me, smushing is happening going on behind the scenes. Photo gallery, now where this comes into place, oh, look, over here on the left, it's added photo gallery to my site. Now, strange things that happens. I've never seen this before. Allow 10web to collect some usage data. They want to sort of like track me. Well, you can find out what data is collected. Let's just skip this for now. I don't know 10web. So, see, look, they're trying to sell me stuff. They're trying to get me to upgrade, get used to this. There's a link to user guide. There's a support forum. So basically, this allows me to create a gallery of images that I can sort of include in my blog post that probably have a nice layout that looks beautiful. That would be my guess is what photo galleries are. Let's say I try this one for a while and like it, you know, it doesn't look good on my site or I don't like the options. Come back into plugins. Like if I'm not using a plugin, I'm going to deactivate this puppy. This one is asking me. I'm just going to not give them feedback. They kind of nag me too much. And if it was really bad, I'm just going to delete it. Yeah, I'm sure I want to delete it. It's okay to leave a like Hello Dolly there as inactive. That's not taking up memory. But I like a clean house. So that's the whole thing. We're still smushing. This is taking forever. Sorry about my bad smush demo. But if we go over to smush, I'm going to leave this. You can find, so it's already telling me that I can bulk smush now. So right now it's going through the images that I've already added to my blog, and it's trying to optimize them. So I can sort of let that go. You can do them individually. Smush is one that I use quite a bit, especially on a blog where I let other people submit stuff, because I generally try to, you know, not upload monster-sized photos, but this way you can sort of just, you know, trim a little fat off of your blog by trimming the images. So those are just a couple plugins. It's really hard to sort of say like what plugins you absolutely must have on your blog. Definitely spam protection. And we'll recommend, there's one I'll recommend next week if you're creating like a lot of, we're going more into pages. There's one that I really like for organizing sort of a hierarchy of stuff on your site and sort of like an outline set of contents. If you look at, I'll just, let's see, let me go back and get this one viewed up. A little preview for next week. So let's just see this. So if you've seen a lot of the, some of the page, you may not even notice that there's a plugin doing this. I'm coming back now. And where the heck is my Hangout window? Good thing nobody's watching this. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to come back to this one. So we've already seen this is so scroll down past here. Oh no, wrong page. I'm going to go to the domain camp page. Well, actually it is. So do you see these this list of all the camp schedule? week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, 5, week 6. Did I go in and add all these to my my WordPress site? No, I use this plugin called PageList, and we're going to get into this next week. If you're creating like an outline structure for some content, it could be your own online book, it could be your course materials. PageList is really amazing because it lets you use capability of WordPress to organize pages in an outline structure. That thing under Camp Schedule is just generated by this thing called a short code. And this basically says, give me all the pages that are children of this page and use an image to represent it. And it automatically dynamically generates that sort of table of contents. It's really amazing. And so I'm already getting into next week's content, which is not what I wanted to do, especially for my my 0 listeners out there. But you know, PageList is one that I use a lot on my sites where I'm organizing materials. We'll hopefully, I'm going to kind of flip this over to the community area for people to talk about and share what their favorite plugins are. So, you know, the activity for this week will be just to make sure you know how to find plugins, how to install them, and maybe experiment with a few of them and show and share, you know, with the community what you found out. So that's what's happening in Domain Camp. I got to get back, you know, to the utility room and work on the rest of building out the activity for the plugins thing. But tune in tomorrow to our Zoom session if you have questions or just want to tell some stories around the campfire, or come Thursday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same thing. The table's open. I'll be here. You could be here. Norm will probably be here. And so we'll see you then. Otherwise, just keep bopping around doing your WordPress stuff, and hopefully you're getting some value out of this. I'm having fun. See ya.